Good morning, Kathy. Hang on 1 second. I'm still getting set up. Grab my water. I can't see anything that's going on because, it's just a thing right now. Let's see if I can get my iPad to open. There I am. Let's turn the volume down. There we go. Hey, Jill. Alrighty, we are just getting set up this morning. I need to set my phone to not go to sleep because I'm going to need it for reference photos. We're going to do some painting this morning. And let's see. Okay. I hope you all have had a fabulous new year. We are done with the December daily. And I have been sort of commissioned by my daughter and her husband to do a series of watercolors. Oh, that's a good one. Oops. Based on where their wedding was supposed to be, but COVID happened. Move the microphone just a little bit. Please let me know if you can hear me okay and all of those things. If I seem a bit out of it, it's because I had yet another sort of semi-sleepless night. My sleep schedule is all messed up right now. Every now and then I get a good night's sleep, but it's not common. And before we do anything else, I probably should put an apron on if I'm going to be playing with paint because I have a white t-shirt on. And, I'm not the most graceful of sorts on a good day. So let's get an apron. I do want to tell all of you that are supporters and patrons over in Patreon that I will be, as of today, setting up a schedule to go live for you supporters. We have a couple of projects. I have a couple of projects in mind that I want to work on with you all. And I've already shared one inspiration image over there in Patreon. And so if you're not a supporter and you would like to be, then the link is in the video description. We also have a newsletter. We're going to get some business out of the way first while we're waiting for people to show up. We also have a newsletter over at MailChimp. And in the newsletter, we do announce things like sales in the Etsy shop and special events coming up, kind of give you a preview before we tell the rest of the world. And there'll be discount codes we don't announce anywhere else and that sort of thing. So if you want to be in the MailChimp newsletter, then that is in the link tree list of links, which is in the video description. So along with that, a lot of other stuff. The website will be going away this year. And when you click on the URL for the website, it should take you directly to the Etsy shop. For the moment, that's how we're working on that. And the website over the 20 plus years I've had it has been a lot of work. And I'm going to give it up for the moment. I am keeping control of the URL. So will it come back at some point on another platform? Maybe. But for right now, it's not needed and it's not garnering enough views and things to make it worth the effort. So that's something for the new year that's happening. As of a couple of days ago, I checked and it's still live, although I am not paying for it, so I'm not sure why it's live. So I don't know when the expiration date is on that, but at some point they're going to take it down. Anyway, what else? I can't think of any other business things right now. So this is one like quick painting I did last night of the place where they were going to have their ceremony, and they are going to have their celebration of their marriage in June, pandemic permitting. I just did this a quick one last night, and it's okay. The kids really like it, which it's all right. We're going to do another one. Thank you. It's, it was just a really quick watercolory sketchy thing. We're going to do another one. So I like to keep things kind of loose generally. My daughter and husband both like things more realistic. So we're going to try to find a happy medium. I am using hot press watercolor paper. Now, when I'm doing any drawings or images I know are going to be scanned, I generally use hot press or Bristol vellum because the paper has a very smooth finish. And if you're going to scan the work and turn it into something digital, you'll have less problem with the texture of the paper creating weird shadows in your work during the scanning process that you then have to go correct than if you use something like cold press, which is my preferred watercolor paper. Oh, good. So I always use a smooth paper. That being said, I don't like hot press. I don't like working on Bristol vellum with my watercolor. It's not my favorite thing, but for client work especially client work I know is going to be scanned, I use a very smooth paper. And I don't keep a ton of hot press around because I don't like working on it, and I only use it for client work. And this is Arches 140-pound hot pressed watercolor paper. This is a block, so also the edges don't get too warped. The Instagram account I'm looking at and where they're going to be having their thing is called The Old Schoolhouse. It's in, I think, Newberg, Oregon. And oops, that's not it. That's the kind of one image we're going to sort of work on today, if you can all see that. It's an old schoolhouse here in Oregon, surrounded by orchards. But, just any landscape scene that works for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of a sketch, and I'm actually going to do it in yellow colored pencil. For a couple of reasons. One, I think it'll look interesting. And I just sort of want to do a closer up shot of just like the door. I did sort of the whole building yesterday, but I just kind of want like this part. It's a very beautiful location. So I'm just going to rough in. I'm not worried about the sketchy lines because I just personally, I think they add to the piece. And honestly, my daughter is very skilled digital software. And so whatever she's going to do with these, if she's going to turn it into a digital image, she'll take some of the lines out. Although if I add too many, she's going to be like, really, Mom? Thoughts about creating artwork that you're going to scan. Metallic paints don't scan well, so I tend to not use them. Oh, nice, Kathy. Good morning or afternoon to you, Laura. Skyscapes are fun. Maybe we'll do one of those too. So I'm just sketching the door. Hinting at shapes rather than trying to be realistic about it. Okay, that works for the moment. I am going to spray down my watercolors. I've got the Gouache palette here off camera. And we're going to start with a large-ish flat brush. This is a Prince 2 1/2-inch flat. I've got 2 buckets of water here. One we're going to try to keep cleaner than the other one, although I tend to be bad at that. I'm going to grab some quinacridone yellow, which is kind of a bright yellow. It's a bit bright for what we want, but I'm going to grab a bit of that, and we're going to add some Titan Buff. And just sort of mute that just a little bit, knock out some brightness, add a little water. I know you're like, what? So if you don't know who she is, I'm a big fan of Jean Haines. Take some water, push some of that around. If you don't know who Jean Haines is, look her up. How is everybody right now? Are you all well, happy, safe, keeping busy, all the things? Okay, now while that's drying, we're gonna like move to another part of the painting and work on what is this very tall, thin Italian cypress on the side. Hey, Shell. I'm gonna grab a combination of sap green and undersea green. Undersea green is more of a muted sort of gray green, and sap green is kind of a yellower green. Hang on one second. So you can see kind of the 2 different colors there, if my arm's not in the way. And so, okay, so we're going to see the darker of the 2 greens. And I have a small round brush. I'm just going to make sure I dab the water off the ferrule so I don't get drips where I don't want them. And this is a Escada number 4 round. And I'm going to barely touch the brush to the paper. And I'm not going to try to do a straight line. This is like the part where you don't want a straight line. And right here, I'm going to lift and push, and I'll give you these irregular lines that will suggest foliage. It's like a really easy way to do something like this. When we're painting pictures, don't stress yourself out by, trying to be too perfect. If you want perfection, use your camera. We're trying to create an artistic rendering of something. And to do that, you just need to suggest the shapes. You don't need to be perfect. Yeah, waves. Exactly, Shell. Waves. You can do this to suggest foliage. You can do this to suggest water. Lots of different things. And while we're working on the bush, the yellow over here is drying, so that when I go to add more colors over here by the where it's going to be the doorway, it won't mix too much with the yellow. Now the sap green is a much yellower green, so that means it's going to suggest lightness and brightness and warmth, whereas the undersea green suggests shadow. So we're going to do the same thing, irregular. When you're painting things in nature, don't aim for perfect straight lines and perfect brush strokes, because nature is not perfect. If you go out walking your neighborhood, taking pictures of flowers and bushes, nature is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There's no straight lines. You also don't have to, cover the whole thing. We're just suggesting. Now, when I'm doing client work like this, even though this one's for my daughter, there's going to be pieces that they like that I don't, and pieces that I like that they don't. I usually give them the whole kit and caboodle. They can do with them what they will, as I know she will. I kind of want to put the impulse to put some right there, but then I'm going to thin it out with some water right away. Now the sap green is fairly staining. I don't think you're going to be able to see it on camera, but where I initially put the blob of paint, it thinned out a bit, but you can definitely see the mark where the initial blob was laid down on the paper. And I went in really quickly with the brush. So if you don't want those marks, you need to be much quicker than me, and or do this, go back and while the paint is wet, add some little dots, just little dots. The watercolor paint is going to go where the water is. Watercolor paint is very cheap and easy that way. It's lazy like me. It's going to take the easy path. So it is not going to go anywhere else. And just keep working at it until you get something that you like. And again, while we're working on this bush, the other is drying. At some point, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, I really like that, then stop. Because that's when you should stop. Now, purposefully, I'm letting some of this darker green go into that undersea green and just meld the two a little bit. I do like to paint and draw flowers and nature. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that already. So I'm going to go directly into the watercolor pan and get some pigment on the brush. Look how dark that is. I'm barely touching the brush to the paper. We're not digging any giant holes in our work. A very light touch. To be honest, I would rather do that than use a small thin brush. I do have them, but I'd rather do it this way. I could just keep going all day with this bush. You guys probably wouldn't find that interesting though. I'm going to stop there. So we have a little rock here down in the base of the bush. So grab some sepia. We're going to just let it mix with the greens here. Shell, that's funny. I know last night if you follow me on Facebook, then you know this already. Last night I went down the 1970s music rabbit hole on YouTube. And yeah, that was quite the rabbit. And then the songs, you know, from like Bread and those kind of groups are just singing in my head. Just, they kind of won't go away like an earworm. Okay, so I am going to, I have this other little tiny palette here with some blues on it from the I did last night, and I'm just mixing that with the sepia and the green to get just a little bit of a different color. I do have a rag, so if you get too much pigment while it's still wet, you can do this. Now, what kind of paint you're using, that may be more or less successful. I'm going to grab some of that yellow. So rather than always adding black or white, think of your colors as warm and cool. And if you want to add light, add some of your warm colors like yellow, orange, red. If you want to add shadow, add some of your cool colors like blue, purple, some of the dark greens. This is a little bit of Payne's gray. Okay, maybe we can start working on the doorway. I don't know. Well, let's try it. And it looks kind of wet still, but I'm going to start with the blues that are on this little palette, and just, there's a little bit of Payne's gray in here. The building is white, so these are kind of good shadow colors. We're going to try not to stick our hand in the bush that we just did, because that's a problem. It's something I've done before. So the first thing I want to do is just work at adding this sort of light bluish gray color, suggesting the architecture. Again, my brush is barely touching the paper, and I am doing sort of, as Shell nicknamed it, the wave motion, where I'm sort of lifting and pushing and lifting and pushing to get a purposefully uneven line. And to be honest with you, I've had quite a bit of coffee this morning, so I don't have to do too much to have shaky hands today. Because, yeah, it's going to come semi-naturally. Now, I do think my daughter wanted more paintings of the orchard than she did the doorway, but we'll get to that. So when you're painting something that's white, whether it's a building that's white or snow, something like that, this sort of light blue gray color is a great one to use to help you suggest those shapes. And trying to leave the white space of the paper. That being said, I'll tell you the truth right now, I suck at leaving white space. But we are mixed media artists here in this group, and we don't have any compunction with going back in with white gel pen or a white paint pen. It's all good, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of the paint here. Now these doors in this building are glass, so I'm going to use this sort of color to suggest the glass and the doors. I see a mistake already made in the architecture, but that's all right. We'll fix it in a minute. I'm going to try not to have it blend too much the yellow because I don't really want green windows, but we'll see what happens. All right, so these need to go here. Okay, the doors are also brown. So we are going to go in with some of that sepia color, which when I did the original, I mixed with the blues. Grab some water. Both my water buckets are already dirty because, you know, it's not an out of practice thing. That's a Gina has trouble keeping her water clean thing. I hope you all are having an okay time. I hope that you have a community of friends or family that when you need someone to talk to, vent to, share art ideas with, that you have that. I know a number of you have really great Facebook groups and things that you either run or participate in. So let's do share. See, let me fix that. Can use our art to get through that tough times. Okay, there's some, I'm going to put some shadow up here in the top of the doorway. And you know, use your art to make it through. Like that's what we do art for, isn't it? So we've got a good basic shape going on. Hey, Peg. Happy New Year. All right, so let's grab some more Payne's Gray. Do I want Payne's Gray? Looking at the photo. I think before we do anything else, now this is an old, genuine old school house with, you know, siding. So I think we're going to suggest the siding. And I'm just barely touching my brush to the paper, and these lines are so thin, I'm not even sure you're going to see them all on camera. Again, this is an artistic rendering of the building in question, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be suggestive. It's in a beautiful spot in near Newburgh, Oregon, and yeah, it's a really pretty location. The kids will be having their marriage celebration there at some point. When will it be exactly? Hopefully June. I do try to make these be like sort of even. My daughter, of course, said, Mom, can you do some drawings for me? And I said, how about some paintings? Because, yeah, I'm not really a drawer so much. You want me to do little doodles? So I like that look. So that looks good. Needs to dry a little bit more. So we're going to grab some more. Let's see, let's grab the Payne's Gray and let's put it in here. And I do have a dark blue indigo. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's this one. I'm thinking a dark, dark blue, something interesting, right? All right, so I'm going to take, again, I'm just still using this round brush. This is dry now, so I can put my hand down on it without messing anything up. Go back on some of these lines. I'm going to decide where the sun is coming from. I'm thinking it's coming this way. And I'm going to put the dark shadow colors on the other side, and I'm going to at least start there. Now, when I'm doing this, I might find that artistically I want to just outline everything. But we're going to start with doing the shadow side. When I did the other one yesterday, I ended up just outlining everything. But again, I'm using that sort of wavy motion on my brush, that Shell. I love that name, Shell. And I'm just barely touching it to the paper, alternating with pushing it kind of hard. And it just gives you this purposeful, uneven line. Yeah, so you're not the only one, Shell. At some point, I just want to outline everything, and it just becomes a thing that I'm like, well, it is a painting, and client work or not, I need to do artistically what I think is best. Sometimes that just means outlining everything. And my daughter could, crop the original painting. But I just thought it would be interesting to paint just kind of a close-up of the doors and this large Italian cypress thing that's next to it. For those who don't know, again, you can go to Instagram to the account the_old_schoolhouse, Portland, Oregon. And that is the site. And location that we're working on painting. There I go. I didn't intend to do that one. And that just kind of, as soon as you do that, it starts to bring it to life. And you get these accidental blobs. Can you see this like blob right here of dark paint? I love that. Totally accidental, but I love it. See, I'm gonna end up putting this on a lot of it. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. See, because I just keep going. So, Shell, it's definitely not just you. I like the way that looks. I don't know about you guys. Okay, we're gonna grab some more of the greens. We're gonna let that dry just a little bit. And then just mix all of them together. Add some water. You are not alone, Shell. Let me stretch. Okay. We're going to grab some burnt umber. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is a kind of a red brown. And you have your gray blue browns versus your red browns. If you did a monotone painting, the red one is going to suggest lightness, brightness, and warmth, and the other one will suggest shadow. So if you need a little pop, grab your red brown. Burnt umber works. Yeah, so I'm going to be catching up on my Jean Haynes books this year. There's a fine line between no lines and a bunch of lines. And she's a really great teacher for teaching you how to control some of that. And so I need to get back into the practice of learning. So I'll be working on that this year. All right, I'm feeling like we need to do something with this bush because it's not quite right. She's a good teacher for those of you who want to learn more about painting in general, yes, but watercolor, of course, but you know, her techniques could probably be transferred to acrylic paint, and the idea behind her techniques to maybe mixed media, the idea that she has of suggesting colors and suggesting shapes. So did you see what I just did there? I put way too much of the undersea green, and so while it was wet, I just went in with my rag. Don't watercolor without a rag. And if you're like me, holy cow, people put an apron on because, you know, I am messy. Yes, it is. No, I'm sorry. Hain, Kathy. There's a few of her videos on YouTube, but very few. And she does have a few like DVDs for those of you who still have a DVD player. But her books are great. I haven't yet run into one that I don't like. She's great with the loose suggestive-y watercolors. And again, there are a few videos on YouTube with her. Some she's put up, some other people have put up where she's done interviews and things. In fact, there's one of a studio tour of her studio. I would recommend checking those out first before you invest a bunch of money in the books. And or, I mean, I know our libraries aren't open. I don't think anybody's libraries are open, but you know, I don't know if you can order books online and go pick them up. Okay, I like that. All right, so now. Now the thought is, where do I want to go with this from here? I think I want to add some more red. So we're going to go in actually with red. We're going to do alizarin crimson. Talk about red. Going to mix it with the browns and blues in the dish. I'm going to just try a little bit just to make it pop. Don't go too crazy with it. You don't need to cover the whole thing. When this whole COVID thing first happened, I remember finding her studio. There's one about her studio, and I remember finding it on YouTube somewhere, and I don't remember where, and watching it. And I found it really fascinating. It might have been on the Daniel Smith website because YouTube channel, because she uses a lot of their paints in her work. Oh yeah, I like that. Might need a little bit of brown, but yeah, I like that. You know, we're all stuck at home now, so it's time to catch up on all those art projects and things we keep putting aside. If you wanted to learn more about painting, look up somebody like Jean Haynes. If you want to take an online course from somebody, a painter who dabbles in mixed media and all kinds of things, Pauline Agnew. Hey, oh, yeah, I like that. I'm going to stop there with the frame around the doors because I like the way that looks. I do want to add some like brightness to the glass in the windows. And I think we're going to go in with something kind of crazy like a teal. Rebecca won't be surprised because I put teal in everything. I'm going to mix it here with a little bit of the blues that are on this little dish here that we were using. And that's just kind of will differentiate the glass from the other parts of the doorway. Painting just doorways is fun. There's a whole thing on Pinterest of people who have taken pictures of just interesting doorways. I got too close to the red right there. It mixed a little bit. We're going to try to call it a happy accident. There we go. The other thing I'm trying to do with these paintings is get out the heat gun all the time and let the paint dry naturally, which to be honest with you all, I'm kind of bad at because you get into habit with the heat gun. It's easy trap to fall into. It's harder to just let things dry. All right, I'm going to grab some neutral tint, which is sort of a dark grayish black color. I'm going to grab it straight out of the palette so it's pretty thick and pigmented, no water or very little water. Let's do that again. I'm going to just grab this dish so I can like wipe my brush off on something. And darken up a couple of lines. So with watercolor, generally, it's the opposite of acrylic. So you want to start off lighter and work your way darker. It's really hard to cover it up if you get something too dark. It's not impossible, it's just difficult. Great, Peg. That's a lot of stuff. I'm going to add a few graphite pencil marks. I actually think I want more of that neutral tint. I missed a spot. Let's see. Try not to stick my hand in anything that's wet. stop there because I like the way that looks. So this is a block of paper. So there's always a space up here at the top, and you go and you find that edge of the sheet that you're working on. Stick the palette knife in there. And then just run it around the edge. And hopefully you've just gotten one sheet. That's the only problem with doing it this way. Sometimes I grab more than one sheet. So after it dries, I will sign it and then give it to the daughter. We're going to do another one because we've got plenty of time. Let's find a picture of the orchards because there's a lot of orchards in this site. The Paint Yourself Calm book is wonderful. I have that one, and it's one of the ones that is like right off camera. I need to work on it. And ooh. Does that one work? Maybe. No, that's not the one I was thinking of, though. Let's see. Their Instagram has a lot of photos, but of course they're photos intended to shop or sell the venue as a wedding and event space and not as not pictures for artists to paint from. So, you know, go figure. And then my daughter says, just don't paint any people in the pictures. Like, okay, oh, there's the one I wanted. That's it right there. Okay. So that's the photo that we're going to look at right there, which is a picture of a wedding couple walking down the orchard. Okay. Let's put some shapes in first. We don't have to put shapes in, but you probably aren't going to see this on camera because it's going to be too light, but I'm using a 6H pencil for no other reason than it was a pencil that I had that was easy to get my hands on. I just want to give myself some sort of light landmarks. All right, so again, we're going to get that big brush and we're going to mix all of these together. You've got sort of brown, red, blue. It's going to make a gray color. I'm going to add some more blue to it. I'm going to add ultramarine blue. Just to make it a little bit more blue and less gray. And it's pretty thin because there's a lot of water in here and not a lot of pigment in here, which is fine. And we're going to just kind of put that on the background. Okay. By the way, remember what I said earlier about having trouble keeping the water clean? Yeah, both things are dirty, just FYI. I'm a very messy artist, so I have trouble keeping things clean. So I'm going to just spread some of that pigment out a bit. I do live in Oregon, so our sky is not usually blue. It's usually some form of gray because it's usually raining. And with most paintings, especially landscapes, I like to get the background skies done before I do the foreground, and then I don't have to necessarily go back and touch them up. Hey, Barbara. Okay, so that works kind of. Okay, I'm going to stop with that. Then we're going to do Let's grab yellow ochre just because why not? And I'm going to try not to get too close to that blue I just put down because we don't want muddy sky. And again, this is an old orchard site. I don't remember what kind of orchards. I want to say apples. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what I want to say. Okay, we're going to switch to, let's see. You know, I have this expensive watercolor brush that I don't like, but I'm trying to use it. I don't like the shape of it. Let's grab one of the browns. I'll pick one of the browns. It's not my favorite brush. See, I don't like it. I'm sure I just need more practice with it, but it's not my favorite brush. I'm going to grab something more red. And I'm going to put this on here while that other one is light. That other one is wet. And it's going to blend a bit where they're touching. Oh yeah, the interviews are great. Great idea. Oh, my water's dirty. I said that already, didn't I? All right, so we're going to grab a sort of lightish green. We're going to go with the, you know what? We're going to go with this one because we have this plate full of green. We'll see if I can do what I want with this brush that I hate. We'll see. Oh yeah, maybe. Found something it's good for. I'm just dabbing. Dab, dab, dab. I need some more green here, though. So I'm going to be continuing with the use it or lose it kind of thing I started at the beginning of 2020. I just found, on top of everything else that's happened, that I get really frustrated not being able to find stuff, Barbara. So I'm going to be continuing with that because, yeah, I need to just be able to find what I have and not end up rebuying stuff because I can't find things. Shell, these are little sauce dishes from like Dollar Tree or the grocery store. This one is a soy sauce dish. These are not from the art supply store. They're just cheap ceramic plates, and you can get them in different sizes at Dollar Tree. Don't go buy it, spend a ton of money. I do find I like using them better for both watercolor and acrylic because they're easy to clean. So yeah, use it or lose it, because it's just, you know, at some point our collections just become too big. And then, you know, if you're like me, then you just can't find stuff, and I get frustrated and annoyed. And, you know, right now life is giving us enough to be annoyed about. I don't need extra help in that regard. And so I just, yeah, it needs to be cleaner so I can find stuff that I'm looking for. And, or, you know, when the neighbor comes over because he needs a blue pen for his notary and they don't have any blue pens in the house, and I know I've got some somewhere, I can find him a blue frickin' pen. Like, that actually happened not long ago. And, you know, we did finally find a blue pen, but it took way longer than it should have. Shell, LOL. So yeah, so I just, you know, when I need dishes, I go to the grocery store. Well, we go to Fred Meyer, which is part of Kroger, and I look, when I need a dish right now, I just go look in their kitchen section and see what they have. Right now, I don't need any. And you can just wipe them off. You don't have to do anything special. Grab a baby wipe, which we all have, because, you know, especially if you've been watercoloring with it, just grab a baby wipe. There you go, all clean. If you've been using acrylic, if you let it dry, it should just peel off. All right. I kind of want to dry that, but I kind of don't want to be bothered either. Let's see. I've got some green pencils next to me. We're going to start with this one. This is the Derwent Graph Tint in Slate Green. These graph tints are like ink tints. So they will, while the paint is wet, they're going to like move around a little bit. I'm going to just make loose lines. I have a variety of colored pencils next to me. Some are water soluble, some are not. Like any other mixed media project, just, you know, make some marks, keep making marks, keep layering the marks until you find that you're happy with the piece. Again, when I find when I'm doing this kind of work, client work for a subject matter that didn't strike my imagination, I do a few different things and sometimes do them over and over again until I get a composition that I like. Yeah, so Barbara, I don't know of too many of us that don't have sort of a landing pad, for lack of a better term. So where, you know, things come in or project leftovers just get dumped. I have that. It's that way. And every little bit, I clean it out because it gets, it is not very big, but it gets to be so much that I can't find what I know is in there. And then that gets to, like, that drives me crazy. So, the churning process for me, I've just given up trying to figure it out. It's part of my creative process. So I'm okay with that now. And I don't stress about it anymore. So we're going to grab some very yellowy green, phthalo yellow green. Watercolor Wednesdays. Yeah, wow. That was so long ago. Watercolor is still my first love. It was the thing I first started with when I started this journey. It's still the thing I love the most. I do a lot of it off camera. Even when I'm working in my sketchbooks, I find myself using pens and pencils I can add water to move the things around. I did recently just go through a big bundle of old artwork, and we are going to be doing a big artwork bundle sale, purging a bunch of old artwork, some good work, some bad work, some signed work, some not signed work. And that is coming. My daughter's helping me with that. I have to get some packaging because I don't have enough packaging for it. Thank you, Barbara. So watercolor should be for you just like any other medium, where it's just all about layers and mark making. And, don't be afraid to, as mixed media artists, incorporate it into your mixed media work. Use your other mark making tools with your watercolor. There's no problem with that. If you're like me and you're constantly forgetting to leave white space, make sure that gel pen's handy, or paint pen. And if you're like, well, yeah, my work is just horrible, I just don't like the way it looks. Every single piece of art I do has a stage where I think that's really terrible. Like, why are you bothering? That's ugly as sin. You should just stop now and throw that away. Every single piece of art I've ever done. So you're not alone. And if you also are thinking, well, my work doesn't look like her work, it doesn't have to. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's only your way. And that way is okay. It's true with art and a lot of other things in life. So don't let other people's opinions stop you from being happy and making pretty art and expressing yourself. Okay. This is a Van Dyke Brown, which is a very, very dark brown. I don't know if I like this composition after that speech I just gave you about not listening to other people's expectations. It's okay. We'll see. We'll see how I get with this. I'm grabbing some Indian yellow. Yeah, so that happens sometimes. And sometimes you're you know, you finish it and you're like, okay, I don't like that. But sometimes you're just pleasantly surprised that, you know, you're like, wow, I really like that. And sometimes what I find is I add layers to it, let it dry, and then I go back and add something else to it. And I'm like, okay, that's what it needed. That really popped. And sometimes like this one, I'm looking at it thinking, you know, if you cropped it. Yeah, I haven't either. Ooh, I know what I'm going to try because, you know, why not? So I'm going to grab the undersea green. This is a fan brush. I don't use these very much. The other thing is don't have any fear. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to mess up the painting and it's going to be, you know, ugly. Okay, well, you know, that happens and that's okay. And even if you're doing client work, you know what? I give them the ugly pieces as well as the ones I think that turned out right. Yep, agreed, Barbara. And there's a few people I haven't seen around a lot lately. Ian's just one of them. I hope they're all okay. And, you know, I know things are tough in the UK right now, from what I'm hearing, not only on the news, but from friends like Mike Deacon. Things are tough over there right now. Okay, I'm going to do something really crazy, and we're going to grab some more teal. Maybe not with the fan brush. Let's see. Maybe with the little mini fan. Right? Why not? Just go crazy. Actually, you know what I want to do? I know exactly what I want to do. Let's see. I know exactly what I want to do. Oh, there it is. Hold on. So, gouache palette time. Filbert brush time. So these are the Japanese hime gouache. They are water soluble, opaque. One thing I'm trying to do with the trees here is find the spots that are already lighter or that need to be lighter, and using this lighter green and letting the accidental marks where it's darker be, if I can. These times are definitely crazy, and we're going to someday be telling our grandchildren, about them, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. That's all I can say about that. It's going to be interesting. I don't really like the way these trees are coming out, but it's all right. I'm very tempted to go down there to the venue and see if they'll let me in to take pictures to get better inspiration photos. They won't believe us. You're not wrong, Barbara. They're gonna not believe us at all. I have had the conversation many times over the last year. I had grandparents that lived through the last pandemic, 1918, and I had a grandmother live through the polio epidemic. She had polio. She survived, obviously, or I wouldn't be here. Boy, howdy, do I wish I had thought then to ask them some questions, because wow. Okay, I see a direction where this needs to go. At some point, the picture is a suggestion of shapes and shadows, and you will find that your painting needs to go in a different way, which I just figured out. And I really like the way the trees are looking now, the leaves on the trees. Peg, it's hard because at some point, it's just hard. It's just difficult. We're all there, right there with you. And I know you have other challenges going on. Some of the brown in this palette. I don't know if I should be doing this, but we're going to put a little bit of it anyways. I don't know if it's a mistake or not. I have a feeling it's not. Not only is no one around, Barbara, if your partner is like my partner, at some point he gets tired of hearing the same conversation, especially since we have different opinions about things. Doesn't mean we don't talk to each other, because we do anyways, but I kind of tease him. It gives us something to do on our evening walks, argue about politics and the pandemic. Yeah, I like much better where that's going. Okay, let's put some of this here. Got to do something on our evening walks. Can't talk about, what we're seeing or pretty sights because it's pitch black outside by the time we go walking, because we live in the Pacific Northwest. I would like to challenge you all to try something new this week, artistically speaking. You know, whether it's, painting, you know, kind of a picture like this one from an inspiration photo, if you've never done that before, doing it as a collage. Maybe you've never tried watercolors before. I want you to try something new this week. Okay, where's our little clean dish? We are going to add some of this brown color into there. It's probably way too much. My table, by the way, I was holding that palette because my table is gigantically full. And when I say gigantically, I really do mean it. This is white gouache. This is Winsor Newton white gouache, which lives in my Daniel Smith palette because I used it a lot. And this is Jaune Brilliant. We'll add a little bit of that in, which is like a creamy beigey skin tone color. I want something that's light and suggests lightness and warmth without being too yellow, and I don't want to use pure white. So that would be why we're mixing this up. Cool. So yeah, I'd like to challenge you all to try something new. Post it in whatever your favorite art group is with the owner's permission, whether it's one of my groups or our Joy of Sharing if you're in that group, or one of the other groups. Listen, we're all kind of in the same boat here, and we're all stuck at home. And it looks like that's not going to be going away anytime soon. So let's get stuck in. Let's do some art. Let's keep ourselves busy, because that really does help the stress level. Now I'm doing that barely touch, push it down, barely touch, push it down. So I get an intentional, like, lumpy, bumpy line. Yeah, share everywhere. Let's give everybody out there something more fun to look at and to be inspired artistically by. Let's give them ideas of how to work through the stress. We're all right there with you. We're all feeling the stress, and let's see how we can help each other work through that. Now this is, what color is this? Nickel azo yellow. And as I'm always telling you, if you have a favorite content creator, it doesn't have to be me. It could be anybody. It could be Chelsea. Could be Peg. They probably have a way for you to support their free content. Think about doing so. Times are tough for everybody right now, but those of us on YouTube have had a hard time, especially since COPPA happened. It did something strange to all of the ad revenue. I grabbed some more of that brown color from the Gouache Palette. So support the free content. I'm going to catch up on the comments in just a minute here. Hold on. I would show you all how dirty my water is, but it's really gross. Now, I never worry about when I'm finished with the painting, erasing all the pencil lines. I think they add to the piece. I know some artists don't feel that way, but so whatever works for you. One of the challenges I always have with hot press is the paint moves around differently than it does on cold press paper, and I'm very used to the cold press, so it's usually a bit of a challenge for me. Okay, did I say yet? I'll catch up on the comments in a minute. Hang on. What is the other like business thing that I need to do? Let's see. Support all the free content that you can on YouTube and in the Facebook art groups. Most of your content creators have a way to do that. And if you can't figure it out by looking at their video descriptions or something else, ask them, private message them. If you want to join my Facebook groups, the link along with my Etsy shop and everything else is in the video description. Now you could correct any mistakes with pens and pencils, but you really should wait until the paint dries, which is way easier said than done. Get out your heat tool if you need to. Just don't get it too close to the paper because you will set the paper on fire. Guess how I know that? I'll give you one guess. Okay, well, I add more white gouache to this. Let me see. So acrylic inks will dry in your fountain pens and then you will clog your pen. So yeah, that's actually true as far as I know. That being said, I tend to not do refillable pens and I tend to just buy ink cartridges because I'm messy and clumsy. Oh, thank you, Linda. So then I'm being semi-successful. Again, at some point, if none of these images work for my daughter and what she is looking for to do with the paintings, then I'm going to have to go there and take some pictures or bring paint in the car or something, because on their website and or Instagram, of course, because it's an event venue. So all of their photos are geared towards selling it as an event venue, not taking pictures for people to paint. So yeah, that could be a thing. So the thing about using gouache with your watercolor is you really can do more like what we're used to with acrylic, where you can really just start layering dark colors and light colors on top of each other to get the look that you want. Right, I do own some little tiny round pens. These aren't pens. What are these? Paintbrushes. I don't like to use them, but I do own them. This is a Van Dyke brown, which is a pretty dark brown. I think we're nearly there. I just want to define a few shapes. Again, shell, it goes back to wanting to outline things. Oh, yeah. It's a thing. I always want to outline everything. I'm trying to look where previous layers of paint created dark shadows and refine those or define those and not put a mark somewhere where I don't want it to be. Trying. That's actually pretty good. I'm going to stop there because that's actually pretty good. Okay, let's see. All right, so I like the way that looks right there. So we're going to stop, and I definitely could see this cropped and framed out without messing up anything, but I don't know if I can. So yeah, I could see that. So I'll be doing more of these for my daughter, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Anyway, I'm gonna just let that one dry because we're just about done for the day. For today, I'll be back next Tuesday. Don't be afraid of the paint. Don't be afraid to use your watercolor and gouache paints together. I have been doing that for a long time. I have some gouache paints that live in my Daniel Smith palette. I also have the new Japanese gouache paints that I use and I love, and that use. I don't know. Did you see them? You probably did. I've got brushes all over the place. I've got pencils all over the place. My table is a mess. So these. Now, I will say people ask me all the time in private messages and stuff about these paints, and these have been open since I got them, which was like maybe September or August. They're still not dry yet. I haven't sprayed them with water once. They're starting to dry a little bit on the top, but they're lasting really well. And I like working with them in conjunction with my other watercolor paints. They work really well. I also like the brushes they came with. So yeah, so we have this one. We have this one. I like this one. And we have this one. I will be looking at the venue pictures some more. But again, our pictures, of course, are very much, selling it to be an event space and not you know, taking pictures in the idea that somebody's going to paint them. That being said, this is one I saw last night that I think I might try to do without the people. Maybe we'll try. It looks like a combination to me of the orchard scene with a skyscape because the sun is shining through the trees. Thank you. All right. So again, don't forget to support the free content and to share in your favorite art groups. There's a lot of really great art groups out there. Mine are listed in the Linktree list of links and the video description. Chelsea and Peg Robinson have Art Joy of Sharing. And I do think at least Peg, I know, has some private groups too, but I know Art Joy of Sharing. And, you know, pick a group. If you're not sure if you can post, you know, something new that you're doing, I challenge you to try something new. Get that old dip pen or whatever it is out of the closet that you haven't been using and give it a shot. And then share your work in one of the groups. If you're not sure you can share, ask. Support the free content how you can. If you are interested in my email newsletter, that link again is down below. We are doing a sale over in the Etsy shop at the moment. And that reminds me, I have to get Etsy orders ready after lunch. And yeah, you find out early bird notifications about things like sales via the newsletter. And all of that jazz. You know, of course, the most important thing is to stay safe, stay healthy, stay creative. Please wear a mask and go out and do something nice for yourself because you deserve it. I'm always around for questions, comments, or concerns. And if there's something in particular you would like to see next Tuesday, let me know. You can private message me if we're friends on Facebook or other social media. You can also leave a comment on this video and let me know what that is. And that's all I can think of right now. I feel like I need more coffee. Is it just me that's having insomnia issues? Cracked fingernails because of all the hand sanitizer. Like, hello, it's a crazy time. Anyway, if that's happening to you too, just know you're not alone. I've got paint everywhere. It's a good thing I put an apron on. All right, that's it for today, everybody. No, you too. See, it's not just me, thank goodness. Oh, and here's some more dishes. Shell, this is the one from, these are from Fred Meyer. This is the only one I think that I own that's actually a proper ceramic paint palette dish. So just FYI, I don't own many of those. A plate works just fine. Oh, I'm not sleeping. All right. I'm not sleeping. If I sound weird, because yeah, I'm not sleeping. Right? Yeah, Kathy, you need to share your secret with all of us because we're all, it sounds like in the same boat. We're not sleeping. All right. And once we find out what Kathy's secret is, you know, it'll be a good thing. All right. That's it, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, guys.